There's been a lot of noise swirling around Ibrox this week, and not the kind that comes from a packed stadium after a last-minute goal. We're talking tension, frustration, and fresh speculation about what's next for Rangers, especially after a bombshell comment from Sean Dyche reignited the conversation about who could take over the reins if Russell Martin's time really is ticking down. Let's not sugarcoat it. This is a club that demands results, identity, and pride, and right now, there are more questions than answers. Dyche, who's been out of a job since his spell at Everton ended, didn't exactly confirm anything, but his words hit hard at a time when the club is clearly at a crossroads. Speaking candidly about his approach to returning to management, he hinted that if the timing is right and the opportunity feels right, he'd be open to a comeback. That might sound like a neutral statement, but for a fanbase already reading between the lines, it added gasoline to the fire. Especially considering that Rangers are struggling through one of their roughest starts in recent memory. With only one league win under their belts so far, and sitting dangerously close to mid-table irrelevance, the pressure on Russell Martin is suffocating. 5 wins in 15 matches is simply not what the Rangers faithful signed up for. Add to that the backdrop of banners in the stands, chants of protest, and an overall mood of discontent, and it feels like we're approaching a breaking point. Club legend Ally McCoist has already acknowledged Dyche as a potential successor, and that's not something you hear every day from someone who knows the demands of Ibrox better than most. But let's rewind just a bit. The weekend clash against Livingston gave us a perfect snapshot of what Rangers are right now. Moments of brilliance mixed with stretches of confusion and frustration. It was Max Aarons, of all people, who stepped up in the 94th minute to deliver the winner. An unlikely hero in a moment of absolute chaos. And yet, instead of that goal flipping the narrative into celebration, the reaction from the away end was immediate. Chance again calling for Martin's exit. It's rare to see a team win in injury time and still hear that level of anger in the stands. But that tells you everything about the state of the club right now. Even Ally McCoist, who was watching the game from a pub in London, admitted that the drama had him leaping out of his seat while surrounded by people glued to Arsenal versus Newcastle. That moment of personal joy, that raw, instinctive reaction to a last-minute winner, that's what football is supposed to be about. But Rangers fans are feeling something very different these days. That late goal may have earned 3 points, but it didn't earn forgiveness. It didn't erase the doubts. The truth is, the problems run deeper than a single result. The squad lacks identity. Performances have been patchy at best, and for every flash of promise, there's been a lapse in concentration, a tactical misfire, or a defensive collapse. This isn't the Rangers team fans expected to see when the season kicked off. And for Max Aarons, that dramatic winner was more than just a goal. It was a lifeline. The fullback has had a rocky introduction to life in Glasgow. He arrived with a solid reputation, hundreds of appearances for Norwich, and even a stint in La Liga with Valencia under his belt. But his early performances in a Rangers shirt were anything but convincing. Thrown out of position as a makeshift left-back, and then sent off in a disastrous Champions League qualifier, Aarons found himself at the center of criticism from day one. That red card in Belgium didn't just hurt the team's European hopes, it hurt his standing with the fans. So when he slammed the ball home at the far post against Livingston, you could see the release, the emotion, the need to prove something. After the match, he was honest. He knows he let the fans down in that qualifier. He knows that expectations at this club are sky high, and one mistake can haunt you. But he's also determined to fight, to rebuild that trust. And in fairness, that goal might be the start of something for him. Not just a redemption arc, but a reminder that there's still quality in this squad waiting to be unlocked. What complicates things further is that Aarons was Martin's first signing, a move seen as a statement of intent. A clear message that the manager was ready to challenge even established figures like James Tavernier. But so far, that promise hasn't materialized. Whether it's due to injuries, tactical confusion, or just a lack of confidence, Aarons hasn't cemented his place. And when you're part of a team that's underperforming across the board, everything gets magnified. And yet, despite everything, the support never wavers in terms of numbers. At West Lothian, it felt like a home game, with 3 stands packed with Rangers fans. Aarons noticed that. He acknowledged it. And he knows that this kind of pressure, this kind of expectation, can either crush a player or lift them. For him, The goal was just the beginning of a new chapter. For the team, it should have been the start of a new momentum, but that's something we've heard before this season. And each time, that momentum has fizzled out almost as quickly as it began. That's what makes this moment so fragile for Russell Martin. Yes, he got the win. Yes, there were stretches of decent football during the game. But the overall picture still looks bleak. The team struggled to dominate. They allowed Livingston back into the game when they should have been taking control. And most damning of all, the mood in the stands didn't change. The fans celebrated the goal, then immediately turned their chants back against the manager. Chairman Andrew Kavanagh and the 49ers Enterprises ownership group have so far stood by Martin. But even the most patient boardrooms have a breaking point. And when the fans lose faith, openly, vocally, and repeatedly, that tends to influence decisions at the top. Former Manchester United scout Mick Brown didn't hold back either, pointing out that scraping by teams like Livingston isn't what Rangers are about. And he's right. This isn't just about getting 3 points. It's about how you get them. The style, the conviction, the control. So when Deitch casually mentions that football jobs come and get you when the timing is right, it feels a little too on the nose. Because maybe, just maybe, this job is already heading in his direction. The timing might not be perfect. The squad isn't fully his. The dressing room may be fractured. But for a manager who thrives on structure, identity, and toughness, this challenge could suit him. And for a fan base desperate for stability and belief, that might be enough to spark a shift. If there's one thing this Rangers season has made brutally clear, it's that belief is a fragile thing. And at Ibrox, it doesn't take much to lose it. Max Aarons might have provided a moment of euphoria with that 94th minute winner, but the bigger picture remains cloudy. One goal, one win, even one good performance, isn't going to erase the disappointment that's been brewing for weeks now. This is a fan base that lives and breathes the club, that expects a standard, and right now, they're seeing flashes instead of foundations. Aarons himself knows that. His post-match comments showed a player who's aware of the pressure, the expectations, and just how high the bar is set when you wear the Rangers badge. He spoke with humility about that early red card in Belgium, his first ever sending off in professional football, and the weight of letting the team and the fans down on such a massive stage. He didn't try to make excuses. He accepted it, owned it, and said all the right things about redemption and responsibility. And while that honesty might win him some credit, the reality is that at Rangers, words mean nothing without consistent performances. It's also important to understand how awkward his first months at the club have been. When you're brought in to challenge the captain for a starting role at right back, that's pressure enough. But when you're then played out of position on the left, thrown into a team with no settled identity, and asked to perform under the weight of a skeptical support, it becomes a near impossible task. None of this excuses poor performances, but it adds context. Aarons isn't some untested youngster. He's got experience, pedigree, and resilience. But even the most seasoned pros can struggle when the environment isn't right. And that's where the bigger issue lies, because this team, as a whole, still looks like a collection of individuals rather than a coherent unit. You see it in the way they play. Moments of intent followed by lapses of concentration, promising moves that fall apart in the final third, and a defense that can't seem to hold a clean sheet when it matters. Against Livingston, there were passages where Rangers looked sharp, purposeful, and in control. But they couldn't maintain it. They allowed their opponents back into the match, and at times, looked like they might throw it all away. That's not a one-off. It's a pattern. Russell Martin talks about building something long-term, about implementing a style, a culture, a way of playing that the fans can identify with. But football is a results business, and this club is not in a position to wait for everything to click 6 months from now. Every match that goes by without a convincing performance chips away at the belief, not just from the fans, but likely within the squad itself. And once that belief starts to fracture, it becomes incredibly hard to rebuild. What makes this situation even more precarious is the constant pressure cooker that surrounds the club. Every result is dissected. Every lineup decision is questioned. Every substitution sparks debate. And when you're not winning, or worse, scraping wins against bottom-half sides while sitting in 8th place, the noise becomes deafening. Martin's been given more time than many thought he would, and that shows the board still sees something in his long-term vision. But the mood in the stands is shifting, and fast. The chants that rang out even after a win are telling. This wasn't just a vocal minority. It was a message. The fans want change, or at the very least, they want answers. They want to see urgency, intensity, and identity. That's what they demand from a Rangers team. And right now, they're not getting it consistently enough to believe in the project. That's why someone like Sean Dyche entering the conversation is so significant. He's not just another name on a short list. He's a manager with a clear identity, one that's built on discipline, defensive solidity, and an unwavering commitment to work rate. He might not bring champagne football, but he brings order. And that's exactly what this team seems to be lacking. His comments about timing, about the job coming to you, might have been casual, but for Rangers fans, it sounded like a man who's keeping one eye on Ibrox. Whether that's true or not is almost irrelevant at this point. The perception is what matters. And when the current manager is under pressure, even vague quotes from experienced candidates start to take on weight. The real question is, how long can this continue before a decision has to be made? How many more stuttering performances? How many more games where the only spark comes in the dying minutes? Because let's be honest, one win against Livingston doesn't turn the season around. It doesn't erase the poor results that came before it, and it doesn't guarantee anything about the games that lie ahead. Max Aarons might be hoping this is a turning point for him, and maybe even for the squad. He spoke about building trust, about using moments like this to strengthen the group, and those are the right things to say. But he also admitted the obvious, that being this far into the season and only now getting the first league win is nowhere near good enough for Rangers. And the fans know it. That's why they cheered the goal and then kept chanting for Martin's exit. Because emotion in football is complicated, you can feel joy and frustration in the same breath. And while the players talk about pushing forward, about stringing wins together and using this as a springboard, they've said similar things before. The fans have heard it all. They want to see it now. See the fight. See the dominance. See the kind of football that gives them belief again. That's what it will take to quiet the noise. Not just last-minute winners, but 90 minutes of authority. And as much as players like Aarons can take steps toward redemption, the overall narrative won't shift until the results do. Until Rangers stop giving teams like Livingston a foothold. Until the Ibrox crowd stops expecting disaster every time the ball goes near the defensive third. Until they see a plan that's working, not just in theory, but on the pitch, week in and week out. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The rumor mill in Glasgow is buzzing with what could be one of the most talked about moves of the season. John McGINN, the hard-working midfielder who's been a stalwart for Aston Villa, is said to have agreed terms with Rangers. Sources close to the club suggest that the deal is all but done, and if true, McGINN won't just be another signing. He's expected to step straight into a leadership role in the dressing room. Fans at Ibrox are already speculating how the Villa man's combative style and tireless engine will fit into Giovanni van Bronckhorst's plans. McGINN, 29, has long been admired in the Premier League for his tenacity and knack for scoring important goals, and insiders claim the Rangers hierarchy sees him as more than just a player. They see him as a future leader capable of galvanizing the squad. While nothing has been officially confirmed, whispers from within the club's corridors suggest that the midfielder could bring a new level of intensity to Rangers' midfield. He's known for leading by example, both on and off the pitch, and the expectation is that he'll quickly become a voice that younger players listen to. Some fans are even speculating whether he could eventually wear the captain's armband, given his experience and character. The timing of this rumored move is also intriguing. Rangers are looking to maintain their domestic dominance while making serious inroads in Europe, and McGinn's addition could be seen as a statement of intent. It's not just about adding quality. It's about culture, attitude, and the kind of grit that turns matches in tight moments. Aston Villa supporters are reportedly mixed about the potential departure, lamenting the loss of a player who's given them some of their most memorable moments in recent years. Of course, in football, nothing is set in stone until ink hits paper. But if the scuttlebutt is to be believed, John McGINN at Ibrox could be more than a signing. It could be the spark that sets the tone for the season. Rangers fans will be watching closely, hoping the whispers turn into reality. And if they do, the midfield battles in the Scottish Premiership might just have a new master to reckon with. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.